If Pop 2 is so good though, then why is there not a Pop 2 too?
I'm trying to record a video here, you absolute moron.
Do you want me to start recording at least?
You're already recording?
Yeah.
Oh, hello and welcome. I'm Liam, Music Reviewer, and yeah, welcome to another ranked video. 2017 was a bit of a second wind to me, following what was one of the toughest and hardest years I've ever been through, and I do think the music that came out during 2017 did have a fair bit to do with that. Don't get me wrong, 2016 wasn't lacking in quality music, one of the best years for music probably ever, but with albums like Melodrama, Flower Boy and Mouth Moods, it was hard not to feel totally rejuvenated and refreshed. The album that not only fits that quota but tops the entire lot and acts as a shining example of why you should leave your album of the year list till the end of the year came out at the tail end of 2017, and that album was Pop 2. The second mixtape, Charli XCX, dropped in 2017, the second release exclusively produced by a PC music maestro, A.G. Cook, and only made in about 2 months. Pop 2 has went down as a landmark in pop and bubblegum bass, helping Charli XCX become an artist that's not only fawned over by the masses, but also a musician that just manages to be fawned over by pretty much anybody at this point. With Charli dropping How I'm Feeling Now very soon, possibly even today if I've been productive and not lazy, then I don't think there's a better time than to give this mixtape the big deep dive that it absolutely deserves. Strap in, remember this is purely subjective, get your beverage of choice, and yeah, let's rank every track from Charli XCX's Pop 2 from worst to best. And I'm taking this off. I'm taking this off. It is warm out here. It is warm. It's time for the obligatory, just because it's at the bottom, it doesn't mean it's bad spiel that I do in every rank video, because yep, that's the case for Porsche, because even though I would say it's the most run-of-the-mill song on Pop 2, if a release's kind of view of run-of-the-mill is a song that could be seen or heard on the charts in the 21st century, I don't think that's too shabby at all. Flavour wise, this is a vroom vroom cut on Xanax, all the tyres squeaking and indicating earworms that you could expect from that EP have been turned down an oomph without losing any of their allure. I'd argue it's the kind of song that Pop 2 could have put out as a single, as it's still pretty emblematic of what Pop 2 represents without being too alienating for your average radio listener. This is the least auto-tune afflicted track on offer, but it does show that Charli doesn't have to depend so much on that mask and Mo or Mo or whatever you're meant to call her. Yeah, she's a pretty decent feature on here. I don't think any feature on Pop 2 is all that bad. She's not particularly dazzling or show-stopping, but for the role that she has to fit on a track like this, I think she does it pretty well, and she is quite crucial to how really catchy Porsche is. At the end of the day, Pop 2 at its weakest is still a prime cut that I think any other pop star would want to steal away from Charli at the dead of night. So even though it's not my favourite, I still have a lot of time for Porsche. So some fair warning here, because I'm pretty sure I'm in the minority of people who would put this track anywhere other than the bottom spot, but for all of its Eiffel 65 eccentricities, I just find this track really, really tasty. When talking about how guests are presented on Pop 2, A.G. Cook said, "When featured artists come in, I wanted to make it sound like the whole track was destroyed. It should become about them for 20 seconds. Delicious is quite evident of this. Tommy's introduction is preceded by an angelic soprano, as if you're just ascending to a higher plane of existence before Tommy reaches a hand out to bring you in so he can tell you about all his carnal desires. It's almost like a Harmony Korine character is sliding into your DMs. That admittance and all the dirty details about doing the beast with two backs is ultimately what Delicious is. It is very concept. Tommy and Charli filling in the role of a couple who are getting into some phone sex. While Pop 2 isn't running short on any club bangers, Delicious feels like it is at a dingy little venue, just so dirty, and it just feels so right for what this track is trying to go for. It feels dirty, it feels euphoric, and by the end of it, it feels like a hymn. I think that so often we hear about how technology ruins so many elements of our lives, and Delicious feels like a retort to that, showing just how intimate and fiery we can still be even through digital communication. And yeah, I need to mention that boom clap snippet that pops up.
You call me up, then I'm satisfied.
Genius. Just genius. So for some reason, frequent Charli XCX collaborator and musical genius in her own right, Sophie, only makes one appearance on Pop 2, which initially had me disappointed, but as the old saying goes, if you make something as good as Out of My Head, I'm gonna be a very happy boy, which I think that's what my gran always told me. I need to get back to you on that. Following up Backseat in the track list, Out of My Head is a post-partying tune. The beats from the night before just echoing through your hangover-afflicted head. Tuvlo, Alma and Charli all meet up to discuss the night before and what escapades they got up to. And while it could come across as just a track about, oh, what mad stuff did we get up to, I do think there's a different sheen to it. There's a nagging feeling that's as persistent as the rodent rubbery squeaking that Sophie uses, that this partying isn't just a bit of fun, rather it's a vice that's got out of hand. Alma may sound like she's talking about a turbulent relationship, and she may very well be for all I know, but I do think what she's saying about doing all this stupid shit but still being into it, I think can be applied to drinking just as aptly. Analysing aside, Out of My Head is still a tune and a half, one that never feels too on or in your face. Sophie allows the track to breathe, which is no doubt an intentional decision there, so that when it comes to an instance, say when the trio let out a battle cry of the track, titles the song can just hit out with reckless abandon.
Secretly I'm kind of into it. I'm out of my head. Please get out of my
Continuing on the subject of party material, I think it's time we talk about a song that from the very first instance became an instinctive decision for me, that if somebody asked me to put a tune on in the car, I've got an emergency musical parachute, as it were.
Lock it, lock it, lock it, lock it, lock it, lock it. Unlock it, lock it, lock it, lock it, lock it. Beautiful.
One of Pop 2's latter half bangers, Unlock It, is just a carbonated club tune spelled with a CH. The production just threatens to overflow as soon as that champagne fizz is introduced. Cooking Life Sim just shake the bottle bit by bit, culminating in a climax that just borders on drowning, easing off a little bit and then just coming back with a vengeance. It's just simply dreamy. The features on here, they definitely differ in quality a little bit. J Park is the weaker one on here, but I think he fills his pop rap role pretty well. His crooning never coming across as too cheesy or overdone. It does the job pretty well. Kim Petras, on the other hand, just absolutely nails it. She plays into the party girl demeanour necessary in order to capitalise on this sparkly production. The way in which she emphasises certain words like ride or seat with her backing vocals makes it sound like it's fit for a bougie setting, like a limousine ride with the gals. Charli herself never falters. She really does exercise her playfulness in the final minute, letting Unlock It go out with a very strange bang. One last thing before we move on, and I need to mention it or else I'm going to get an earful, that's a Better Off Unlocked remix, which, yeah, I think it slaps, and I look forward to it soundtracking many a house party in the foreseeable future. Now, Charli's been unashamed about her appreciation of Kanye West, a musician who has material that I could make dozens of videos about at this point, but I digress. This is a song where her admiration of Kanye West as a musician just shines through, and while I didn't initially like this song all that much, I have came around to it. A music argument that I've grown up alongside is autotune. Some regard it as a lazy processor and others say it's a new age instrument. You'll find that a lot of people say the former when talking about singers and rappers, accusing them of using it as a crutch almost. I bring this up because undoubtedly there are musicians out there that use autotune as like a robotic third lung, but I think there are just as many who should be given even more of the spotlight because they use autotune as the instrument that it rightfully is, Charli XCX being one of those musicians and Lucky being the shining proof. To call Lucky a change of pace would just be underselling it dramatically. The two tracks that precede it are moody, no doubt, but you can still imagine yourself swaying or vibing to them. Lucky is more pensive, it's just a lot more calm and just a lot more somber all in all. Circle back to what I was saying before, Charli's usage of autotune on Lucky is just so powerful and potent. The incorporation is to enhance as opposed to just falling back on it out of sheer habit. She starts the song pretty naturally, but before long we have the dial-up malfunctioning cadence as well as that cyborg canine howling. If that wasn't enough, then acknowledgement has to be given to that point where Charli says you're breaking up, accompanied by a kind of stuttering effect on her voice, which on a song like this in an album which just like functions so well and being over the top, it's an understated but no less cool touch. On the topic of what the album revolves around, Pop 2 seems to be about partying your feelings away more often than not, and if that's to be the overall concept of it, then Lucky is a 2 AM phone call outside after your iPhone or whatever has just been drenched in sweat and alcohol that's been spilled over the table throughout the course of the night. While I can totally understand why some would find the presentation kind of off-putting to some degree, Lucky was one of the formative experiences I had with Charli's music where it became just so much more than just party playlist material. Over the years I've had people ask me what way I sway religiously, what my beliefs are. Usually I just say I believe in some higher power, not any specific god, but there must be something out there, and you might be one of those folk just now that are going, one, how do you know that? Why do you think that? And two, why are you bringing this up in a video about Charli XCX? And I would just simply tell you that if there wasn't a higher power, then why would I be alive during a time where Charli XCX and Carly Rae Jepsen collaborated on a PC music track? Liam 1, you 0. You should always try and start on your strongest foot. Every album knows that. Pop 2 is no different. I can still vividly remember the first time I listened to Pop 2 and I was greeted to Backseat, not being aware of what features were to be found on here. I was going in completely blind, and to be honest, this song has opened so many car metaphors, but I'm just going to try and swerve away from them. It's a dream collaboration on paper, but the actual execution justifies it beyond just being an answer to one of those music Twitter questions about which two of your favourite artists should collaborate on something. Both stars use their unique set of vocals that play devilishly well into the sulky, soaring nature of Backseat. To me, it's a song about surrounding yourself with distractions and drowning in luxuries in order to ignore larger problems, which is, I think, quite a core essence or component of Charli's whole view of materialism and commercialism. The soundtrack weaved here is just the perfect companion. The 80s synths they just click firmly into place with Carly like the final piece of a jigsaw. By the end of the track, it just becomes a whirlwind of caustic noise as the car that the pair are in enters a tornado which shares the same suffocating tendencies as their thoughts. It may not be my favourite track on Pop 2, but at the time of recording, this is easily the strongest opener to a Charli project. Off we continue with another collaboration, and while this might not be an absolute earworm, what we're going on to next is absolutely one of Charli's most volatile and cleansing songs that she's ever put out. One of only 2 songs that's solely produced by AG, Tears is one of those songs that I can imagine many that use Pop 2 as a party tune vessel don't return to all that much, but if you ask me, that's pretty foolish. A song just as intense as the emotional reaction it's named after, Tears is a song that always manages to catch me off guard. I think Caroline Polachek may have my favourite feature on Pop 2, which is saying something considering how great nearly everyone on here is, but this is like the one time I think that Charli's like properly threatened to be pushed to the side and not be the star of the whole show. But I don't think that happens on here, but it's very close to happening. Caroline's vocals just have me in awe each and every time, especially how she goes on to the word love after the second verse and just morphs it into this just earth-shattering, spine-chilling scream that I imagine the monster from the Come to Daddy music video would hit out with, granted after a fair amount of singing lessons. The emotional core of Tears is one of Pop 2's most endearing moments, and the way in which AG orchestrates the track around it just makes it all the more breathtaking. It's a track about a very rare feeling of love and knowing that isn't quite healthy for you, which is reflected by the fact that the song's initial beauty just becomes to become more unsettling as it unravels. At points it would be more apt to call it noise pop than anything, but regardless of what you call it, Tears is just an emotional masterclass. So before I do a ranked video, no matter if it's a track by track breakdown or a whole discography, I go in the subreddits, I go in all the little fan forums so I can see what I should be kind of keeping an ear and eye out for, because I know if I'm watching a similar video about an artist I love, I'll know when the person making it has missed out something that is totally integral to it. And I did the same for Pop 2. I went on to the Rate Your Music page for Pop 2, and I'm just going to say I'm never going to use my platform for beef, but Apodesta, if I'm saying that right, if you cross me like this again, there's going to be repercussions. I think there's a common verdict that you don't really listen to Charli's music because of the lyrics, and I'm not going to get into that big argument just now, save that for another day, but I definitely do think there are acts that can focus on what they're saying and leave how they're saying it to the side, and the opposite is just as true. I will say though that Fembot is an example why you kind of just totally ignoring Charli's lyrical attempts. You're just missing out if you're doing that. It's just really naive, and I feel sorry for you. An anthem about gender that refuses to give stereotypes both old and new the time of day. Fembot is so efficient on two layers that you'd swear that AG and Charli have tinkered and treated this machine so efficiently that the only real comparison I could have is the old chess guy from Toy Story 2. That first level will treat as a lyrical layer, Charli starting things off by basically telling somebody up front where they can go if they can't handle her, or anyone for that matter having their own form of autonomy. Dorian Electra makes good on Charli's threat, recontextualising the beauty that these people fawn over and making it a weapon of their own. Then we get to Mikey, who just makes Charli and Dorian look like Chibi Robo by comparison, a dominating force that just hits out with laser focused precision. The second composition layer is equally as compelling. AG, Cook and Easy Fun just play about with all these quirks that you hope a song like this would. Dorian Electra's whirring starting vocals, they would act as a tease for their genius that they would showcase on Flamboyant. The manic hydraulics that sound like the factory that your inside has been hacked into. And the split delivery halfway through Mikey's verse. It's kind of half of it is triumphant mechanical cadence, and then the other half is just a subdued and sinister way. It's just super effective. Fembot is just an incredible feat that really does showcase how, regardless if Charli is writing all these ideas and lyrics on iPhone notes or just really trying to aim for something completely profound, the inciting instant is just completely irrelevant, because the end result just makes it so worth it. Makes it so worth it. So when you're bringing up best posse cuts of all time, what are you going to get? You're going to get Scenario, and you're going to get Last Huzzah, and then you get the contemporary choice of having Relido off Atrocity Exhibition. However, if you're going to pester me to throw my hat in the ring and give you one of my choices, I guess all I can say is that I've got it.
Brooke Candy, Fag Mob, Charli XCX, Pablo Vittar, Miss Cupcake.
I would be remiss if I didn't put I Got It in the top half of this ranking, not just solely because of this, but this kind of explains the sheer kind of affection that I hold for it, because when we had a club night back in 2018 for the Transistor Cast DJ set, I went for I Got It, and man, it went down well, and just made a really wise choice, so I did. Anyway, on to the actual song, and what will be the weirdest comparison I'll make in this video, possibly in my entire career. This just kind of reminds me of like a Magic School Bus episode. If Miss Frizzle had like a red hair dye job, and also had half the internet thirsting over her, I just remembered that there's going to be corners of the internet where that actually happens. Back on track though, and this is just as if Charli's leading an expedition into into the body of a raven monstrous creature. Just each bassy heartbeat echoes on. It is just omnipresent, like Alex in an episode of Gourmet Makes. Of course, Charli isn't alone in this metallic sounding excursion, because all the cameos, all the features on here just sound utterly integral. Brooke Candy acts as the song's hype man. Every time she shouts AG, I just get what I can only describe as an adrenaline rush. However, as good as both Brooke and Charli are, two of the other features on here are just absolute standouts. The first is going to be Cupcake, and that really shouldn't come as a surprise considering how great her last Charli collaboration, Lip Gloss, was. Her verse is just littered with brilliance, whether it be the Kim Possible shout out, the yellow tape around the body but ain't measuring waistlines line, and the really odd production in the latter half. The metallicness of this track just disappears. It becomes more gelatinous and shakes with each pulverizing lyrical punch.
Made it possible like him. Today I got great time. Square it out like FaceTime. Yellow tape around the body, but not measuring waistlines.
And last but by no means least, Pablo Vittar is just the epitome of how curveball-ish these features really can be. The Brazilian drag queen comes in with this rhythm and mood that borders on sinister. It is just the cherry on top of this extraterrestrial banger. I love I Got It a whole bunch, but there is one song that manages to beat it out. It's a track that bookmarks your journey with Pop 2. It's a track that will make it impossible for you to forget what had just happened. It's a track that acts as the musical equivalent of a stamp on your wrist after a night out. And I notice I keep saying track a lot. Maybe they should have called the song My favourite kind of albums tend to be the ones that have a closer which really does capture the mood or the message of the record. Of course thinking of songs like Hacker off the Money Store, or the title track off the Cure 17 records, and track 10, it's no different. For a project like Pop 2, you're going to have a closer that captures the scope and unpredictableness that has came before it. So to have this mixtape end on an ever evolving, rough but no less tantalising finisher is just blows my mind. Track 10 is just a lucid dream, and if you think about what you do as soon as you're in a lucid dream, you just want to fly. That's your instinct, and that is what Charli's doing right here. She's floating over all these different soundscapes. It ranges from orchestral lushness to uneasy ambience. Other than the refrain of I Blame It On Your Love, there isn't a steady variable to be found on track 10. It just mutates without warning, and it just keeps you on your toes throughout. The safari that we're taking on here is nothing short of enthralling. We get sympathy choirs, we get walls of noise, we get a harp instrumental break before track 10 just starts to dissolve in our very hands. PC music tends to have this like pristine coat of paint, even in its most odd moments. But with track 10, it's fine to have the colour bleed out of the edges, because it knows fine well that as it dissolves in our hands, our attention is just never going to waver. Much like the start of track 10 resembles the shoddy rewinding of a tape, it's hard to resist the urge to just press play as soon as track 10 is finished. It is the perfect closer for Pop 2, and it is the best track on Pop 2. Which is, it was no easy feat considering how great the track list on here is, but I feel very confident in my choice here. I'm excited to see how I'm feeling now shapes up to be, but if the singles are anything to go by, I'm not going to be worried in the slightest. We really could have an album of the year contender on our hands. These videos are always the most fun to make, and I hope you had just as much fun watching. And if you disagreed with my rankings, and don't be shy, I'm more than happy to hear what you make of Pop 2 and what's your favourite song and what's your least favourite song and all the songs in between. If this is the first bit of content of mine that you've watched, then you might be interested in watching the similar videos that I've done on emotion and melodrama. I've also got discography rankings, but I'll put the melodrama and emotion video either side of me, or however I'm going to make this work. And if there's an album that you would like to see a track by track breakdown of, then feel free to make me aware of it. If you also want to subscribe or like this video, then I would totally appreciate that as well. But I hope you're doing well. I hope you're keeping entertained. I hope you're listening to a lot of great music, because God knows we're not running short of that. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, stay safe and stay hydrated.